Between the 19th and the 29th of March 2013, 3 men were brutally murdered at the hands of Joanne Dennehy. This is the Peterborough Ditch Murders, and we are Echo On, a true crime podcast.
Hello.
Hello.
I'm Christian.
And I'm Chris.
That's the wrong way around for the first time. It's
That's
the other way
fine.
around. Let's just change it around quickly. Come on.
I'm Chris.
And I'm Christian. And you know we're Echo On because you heard the intro.
I just said it.
Yeah, it's a new kind of intro. We're trying something different. But we'll see how it goes.
Yes.
Right, so today, as you heard, it's about the Peterborough Ditch Murders, which is Joanne Dennehy.
Yes. If you're in America, you might not know this. If you're in the UK, you probably will know this. It was very big, all over the news.
In 2014. Well, that's when the trial was.
Yes.
So 2013, all the murders. Like a lot of the ones we've been choosing to do, this one, especially like Belfield, I couldn't hate this person more than I do.
Yeah, I'm not a fan.
Yeah, so like when we did Geen, I'd never hated him. He did awful things, awful person and all that, but for some reason, whether it's just because of romanticized media or it's just so grotty, this.
Yeah, with Geen, I have a sympathy for him for some reason. I don't know why. I know he did terrible things, but I have a certain sympathy.
Yeah, and even like Sutcliffe, hate him to bits. He doesn't repulse me as much as, say, Belfield or Dennehy.
Yeah, I think...
maybe it is just because of when they were, like they're contemporary.
Yeah, perhaps. Yeah, because, Dennehy, obviously, 2013, it was only 6 years ago. And we remember it very, very clearly.
Oh,
and
yes.
some of the photos of her.
Oh, the thing is, we're going to put them in the description. We'll do them now. So before we start talking about it, you can actually look at some of the pictures of her and her 3 accomplices, Gary Stretch, Leslie Layton, and Robert Moore. And you can see from the pictures how just bottom rung. Like, it's just awful. And I want to sort of start off by talking about people's perception of her before we actually get to...
Yeah, we'll go into detail of what she did.
But there's even the prosecutor and the defense attorneys both talked about her charisma and how much men just fall under her spell.
She's like a modern day Lola Montez.
Yeah, the black
so beautiful.
Yeah, that's what I was expecting. Even though I knew the case when I saw it. When I remember the case, I completely forgot what she looked like in all those very famous pictures that you can see in the link.
Yeah.
And when I saw it, there's a disconnect for me. There's nothing that I think someone who looks like she does could say that would make me fascinated by her to do anything for her, or think she's beautiful.
She's
a fucking swamp donkey.
Maybe
She's fucking grotesque.
Doom cow.
Yeah, I mean,
maybe when she's on and she's being all manipulative, she's like the snake in the Jungle Book, and her eyes go into like those twirly like hypnotist things.
Oh, but no, it's like even down to the choice of her facial tattoo.
All that like sexy little star under her
sexy
eye.
little star that was obviously done by the worst tattooist on the planet.
Yes, I think Stevie Wonder might have done it.
Oh. That's not because he's blind. It's because he's not a very good tattooist. He didn't train, you see. The other ones he's done, that's that dad joke ain't even working. Ain't even continued that one.
It's because he's blind.
Oh, it's because he's blind.
He's blind. I said was. He's still alive, isn't he?
Yes, he is.
Okay.
Very much so.
Yeah.
As an aside, do you remember about, I think it's 10 years ago, it was in the news saying he's having this amazing surgery that's going to restore his sight. And
really?
it was this big thing. And everyone's going, he's going through this experimental surgery, but everyone is confident he will be able to see. And that news report never got picked up again because it failed miserably. Oh. He's still blind. No, it didn't fail miserably. It just didn't happen.
Well, he's not like he can.
Didn't get worse.
More blind.
He didn't take away his superpowers or anything. He didn't.
Now his hearing's gone.
I mean, he didn't take away his superstition. He's still very superstitious. Yeah.
Ever since I heard that song, I made a conscious decision to not be superstitious.
Link to the Bros documentary again. I don't know. It's been a while since we saw that documentary. But yeah, Joanne Dennehy, who is literally equivalent for Americans out there, because the majority of our listeners are American, She is the worst trailer trash. She's just grotesque. She looks like she stinks.
Oh, yeah.
And her hair perpetually greasy. Her face has that dumb fly-catching look. Mouth always open. You imagine a fly's going to fly in her mouth and out her ear.
Also, when she was being, we'll play a clip of this later on, but when she was being like booked in when she got arrested, they said, "Have you drunk today?" And she said, half a bottle of whiskey this morning.
Yeah, I mean,
so I'm thinking like I know that she smells of cigarettes and whiskey.
But I mean, can you imagine in the morning having half a bottle of whiskey, then going out doing 2 attempted murders, but then being quite coherent?
Yeah, no.
I would be on fucking. That would be the only thing I could do before pissing myself and going to sleep.
This is, there's 2 things there. This is Christian sober, by the way, so just so you know. And also, don't you just piss yourself and go to sleep anyway?
Oh, yeah, that's because I'm old.
Normal end of the day.
That's what happens. But yeah, so Joanne Dennehy.
So she was born.
I'm going to quickly go back because we're relating to that clip, which is her. But this the one where they go, look at her. She's like flirting with the police officers, and look, she's flipping her hair like seductively. We'll put a link to the video. When they say flipping her hair seductively, running both hands and flipping up her lank, greasy hair,
greasy fucking
is not. Oh,
she looks like she's got Roman Reigns hair.
Yeah. But it's like, I imagine if she took a dump in her hand and started eating it in that same clip, it was just, that would play normally. I'd be like, yeah, that's what
she does.
Yeah, that's what she does.
Yeah.
But yeah,
she's like Gigi Allen's daughter or something. So Joanne Dennehy, she was born St Albans, Hertfordshire, UK, 1982. If you're American, you'd pronounce it Hertfordshire, but you're wrong.
Yeah.
Or you'd pronounce it Hertfordshire, probably, but you're wrong.
Herefordshire.
Anyway, Hertfordshire, UK, 1982.
Yeah, so
when she was born. Apparently, she had like a normal upbringing. She's got a sister who's like fine. She's
like fine, you know.
Like she's normal and unremarkable. Her parents had normal jobs. She had a good upbringing. Apparently, at school was played netball. Butter wouldn't melt. Was the perfect little girl.
Yeah, he's fucking afraid of her. It doesn't want to melt. It's like skank. But it's
melt.
It's like I remember that one of the documentaries we watched talked about the childhood relating to her latter-day persona, as it were.
Yeah.
So, and it was saying, there was she had such an amazing, beautiful upbringing. Everything was great. She had loving parents, which they all fucking say most of the time. It's either abusive parents or absolutely loving parents. And there's none of that. Oh, just normal parents who just
fine.
And I don't believe the whole she had such an amazing upbringing, which was absolutely brilliant. She had a normal upbringing.
It was just normal,
and
just standard normal.
Yeah. So it's the whole thing of like, a loving family. It's like, you're going to say that. No parents are going to go, oh, my daughter killed someone. Well, I hate that bitch.
Yeah, I saw it coming a mile off, actually. Didn't do anything about it.
And like, there was, we talked about this earlier. There was, some people were saying that the change happened in her, like from going nice and normal and butter wouldn't melt kind of thing to complete deviant. Was they were saying at 15?
At 15, because at 15 she ran away from home and she met this guy called John Trina who was 21 and started a relationship with him, and they were together for off and on for a lot of years and they had kids together and everything. And the family say she changed when she ran away at 15, but
that is
I call bullshit on this because so I was reading into it and watching the documentaries, and there's interviews with her school friends.
Yeah.
Doing air quotes, school friends, doing with her school friends. They talk about when she was 14 and some of her behaviour that I'll mention in a second when she was 14. So that's at least a year prior to what her family say.
And you don't change overnight.
No, and I don't blame the family for wanting to believe that it's someone else's fault and wanting to believe that they could have done something and wanting to believe there was any because you're going to
they've also got a normal child as opposed to this one. So it's like it's not. Nature wasn't the problem. Nurture wasn't the problem. It's just a perfect storm of stuff that happened to her individually.
Because they're saying she ran away at 15 to be with this guy and she started taking drugs and drinking. Now, her friends said that. So one of her friends said that, to quote, she didn't give a shit. So they would go to the park, like a lot of teenagers. They'd go to the park, they'd smoke cigarettes and they'd drink booze. But she said, like, at 14, she didn't give a shit already. She was already. Didn't care about the repercussions of her actions, and she said she certainly liked to drink, which to me seems more than going down the park and having a sneaky cider or whatever.
And it takes a while for somebody young to be able to drink and get accustomed to the taste.
Yeah, so apparently she used to like sneak alcohol into school and things like that. And all those things on their own aren't a particular problem. A lot of people do it. But the fact that she said she certainly liked to drink, it indicates to me at 14 she already showed that a kind of obsessive compulsive behaviour and things like that.
But what were you doing at 14?
I was like in Scouts and played rugby.
Yeah, I mean, let's see. Well, when was I 14?
And played like Metal Gear Solid.
No. I know. I can't even remember what I was doing at 14. So that was 89. 89? Yeah, 89.
You were listening to Appetite for Destruction, probably.
Yes, I was. I actually bought the tape of it. And I was watching videos.
Yes, videos.
You know, that's basically like that.
Yeah.
I don't think I even had a drink at that age. I didn't even have a cigarette.
Yeah.
None of that was appealing, and I didn't come from like a privileged background or anything. It was like pretty normal.
Yeah.
So the whole fact of like a 14-year-old girl drinking regularly, smoking regularly, and like at 14, and them saying no, 15 was when it changed. No. This would have been she must have been doing this since at least 12 to get to the stage that she was.
And they also say at 14, it looks like she definitely started showing the manipulative behaviour that they talk about later on. So she would apparently she would choose like weaker boys and like the geeky kind of kids, but particularly boys. And she would manipulate them to do her homework. And her friend said she wasn't shy in giving them a slap if they didn't do it. So at 14, she was already picking her like victims, forcing them to do her homework, but not just going like, oh, come on, help me out, but then trying to beat them up and hitting them if they didn't do it. So already being manipulative at that age before she'd ever run away from home, and why she still had that quote perfect kind of
also it's
life.
The whole thing of like the people that she picked on looking forward to her accomplices as well that she had. She isn't like, oh, she can entrap any man and all that. No, all the men are exactly the same.
Yes.
They're weak-willed, especially later on, low intelligence, and badly educated.
Yeah, she knew her marks.
So
she knew who they were going to be.
She if she was in my school and came up to me and started any of that shit, I would have walked the fuck away. If she slapped me, I would have headbutted the bitch.
The thing is,
I wouldn't have headbutted anyone. That's a joke. I try to sound really like I came off as being like.
I would have headbutted the bitch.
I would not have. That's no.
I would have
just
posh
turned,
Paris school that you're in, or whatever.
I would have just walked away. Hey, I said,
don't hit me again.
Wasn't that posh?
No.
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 Ce n'est pas posh.
No.
I don't fucking know. But yeah, so it's like when faced with that kind of behaviour, my natural instinct is to turn and walk the fuck away and ignore it. This is obviously from that age you're dealing with, especially at that age, you're dealing with people trying to find themselves and trying to be, especially the geeks, the ones who are outcasts, trying to find a way to be the cool kid. And she wasn't necessarily the cool kid, but then because she was so aggressive and didn't care, people would have respected that even at 14.
Because you're domineering and you're dominating, you seem self-assured and confident. Also,
even though she looks like a pack of butter.
It's been left in the sun. So also around that age as well, and around all of that age, she would make friends, and one of her friends said again, they'd make you feel special. She'd make you feel, you're the most important person. One of her friends, I hate this fucking phrase, but she said she would make you feel like you were her sister from another mister.
Oh, fuck
I hate that phrase, but it indicates how she would make you feel special, make you feel you're part of her kind of inner circle, inner sanctum, go out drinking and do all your things. And then as soon as you didn't do what she wanted to do, she'd viciously turn on you. So even from like 14 years old, before she ran away, before she started using drugs,
but no, she was butter wouldn't melt.
Yeah, apparently so. But yeah, she was already manipulating her friends, manipulating people to do what she wanted, bending people to her will. And if they didn't do it, she would viciously attack them, physically, verbally. One of her friends, who was apparently her best friend, another friend who was apparently her best friend for a while, she turned on her for whatever reason and said that she should kill herself. And she said to her, you'd be better off dead and I can help you if you want. 14 years old.
Also, that's
not normal behaviour.
No, but none of them actually reported what, like, they're saying, oh yeah, how she got influence over a lot of these men. Later on, they don't really say any. They only say it of how she influenced her victims by using sex. There's no doubt in my mind that for everyone, even from 14, she was using sex and her body to get there.
Absolutely.
But no one's talking about it. Like, none of the reports say, oh yeah, at school she,
Yeah.
blew him behind the bike sheds.
They probably don't want to talk about it.
I know.
Guys, do they?
Well, but, no one will want to talk about it. It's great. But that's, I think it's an important part that despite the fact that she's grotesque, she still managed to use sex because
Absolutely.
from people who would never have attention from any woman.
No, and like men are pretty simple creatures for the
Yeah.
most part as well.
And she was a
Like, easy to manipulate, I think.
no, that's the wrong word. She cheated a lot. Like
Yeah.
when she was in a marriage, and that I think would have
she's
been
a
from an
serial
early
cheater.
age. She would basically just throwing it around everywhere because it's all about personal satisfaction and getting the ends getting the ends she needed.
Yeah.
So it's like, she needs a bottle of whiskey,
For her,
can't
the
afford
means,
one.
The means justify the ends.
Yeah.
But they're not an end in themselves. So I put like about her behaviour. She ran away and started using drugs, but no, she was already like that. So I just put like, it seems like her psychological disorders that they identified a bit later were already displayed. You can already see them in her manipulative behaviour, the way that she got people to do what she wanted, the way she would turn on people. And this goes on to her later life. So she met this guy, John Trina. They apparently got together at 15. He maintains, there was no kind of inappropriate underage sex,
Bullshit.
and we can only take his word
Oh
for
no,
that.
I will basically call bullshit on that. There is no. How old was he again?
He was 21.
He was 21. He was 6 years older than her. Got a 15-year-old, and from when she's known to have been like using people she's not going to go with someone who's going to. I'm sorry, we can't. You're underage.
How old are you? 15? 16?
Yeah. But it was like, so he was like, no, we waited till afterwards. Like, fuck off.
But what he does say, which kind of flies in the face a little bit of the family's thing of like she met him and run away, is that he says that she ran away and they got together and they stayed in like a friend's garage and slept on floors, and he hated it, but she loved it. She loved that like outlaw kind of lifestyle already at 15. And also he says he met the parents. Yeah. So they all say this like retrospectively about what he did, but he said, I met the parents, I was honest with them, I told them, what my intentions are, and it was all fine. It seems like her behaviour.
To be fair, I don't doubt that. I doubt that he didn't have sex with her. I don't doubt the fact that, and we've only seen a few interviews with him, but he comes across as actually very honest. And the fact that after it all went down and he's obviously raising the kid himself, it stayed there, and he's basically stayed the dad, and it hasn't like he hasn't like gotten to prison for anything.
Like he's got full custody of the children. I think he's in a new relationship, all of this stuff.
So I think him. Even though it's just me being a dick, doubting the fact for all we know, he might not have had sex with her till after she was legal. But I doubt it just from the way she was. Yeah, because I'm sure she manipulated him as well. But I can see like he seems pretty intelligent guy. Like the fact that it was probably a lot of to do with him trying to protect her as well as just say physical relationship. It was like because
if he said that she ran away from home, contacted him. I don't know if the timeline is a bit blurry. Like I'm not 100% sure, but so she ran away from home and she either contacted him or they got in contact with each other, and she told him she ran away from home because she had a massive argument with her family. Yeah. Now I think that goes into what you were saying, Christian, which is he probably wanted to protect her as a 21-year-old man and sees this in his eyes like a scared 15-year-old who has run away from home because she's had an argument with her parents. He just wants to probably wants to look after her. Yeah, and of course he probably obviously there's an attraction. He probably was in love with her and all that, but yeah, absolutely. It does play into it, and the fact that he stayed with the kid and it's like obviously not a terrible dad kind of thing. Plays in his favour for how truthful he is in now. And there's no for the listeners, there's no link between him and any of the murders. He was not with her at the time. It was a few years. Was it? I'm not sure. It was a few years after. A couple of years not implicated in it at all. No, because she went during their relationship towards the after she got pregnant. She stopped doing drink and drugs throughout the pregnancy, but then as soon as out of hospital, went back on it. And there's the whole thing of what I thought of as body chemistry changes when you're pregnant, and literally nature took over and changed her, made her just about the kid for that time. But as soon as the baby's out, chemistry goes back to normal. She's out not giving a fuck. Yeah, and like everything for her as well was, I think, very superficial. Like one of the psychologists, I think it was, and one of the documentaries, said that she couldn't cope with physical and emotional closeness. Yeah. She couldn't deal with it. So as soon as those, she would say the right thing to get what she wanted. She did the right thing because that's what you meant to do, maybe as a mother. But as soon as that child was born, she didn't give a shit. She couldn't lie about that anymore, if you know what I mean. So she apparently kept the kids very much at arm's length. They were on again, off again.
Yeah, and she
in their
kept. Didn't she
relationship.
go? She went out, cheated on people, and disappeared for days at a time.
Yeah, like-
then would come back as if nothing happened.
Apparently, one time she come back and I think she was like fucked up on like drunk or something, and he said that she come back after she'd been away for a while and told him that she had cheated on him, but she said that she was, and this is I missed this the first time I watched the documentary show. We watched it yesterday. From what I gathered from what he said, she said that she had sex with this guy, and I think the way he said it was she was bent over the sink snorting cocaine whilst having sex with this guy, and she told him all of this as well, like just I think quite matter of fact.
Like,
And
then I think the last time before she left, she came in after disappearing for a while. She was in a foul mood, and she took out a dagger and plunged it into the floor, not before threatening him.
Yeah,
and threatening to cut her as well.
Said I could kill someone.
Yeah, and then that was the last time. It's the last time he saw her until it was in the news of what she did a few years later.
Oh yeah. Also, I think it was that time she came back and she had all needles like sticking in her arms and everything like that. So
she was. I mean, drugs do play I think a big part in the development of her. If she's doing drugs from an early age, any kind of psychopathy you've got or any kind of behavior you've got that is abnormal is only exacerbated by chronic drug attack. And bear in mind, she's not going to be getting high quality stuff. It's going to be garden variety skag kind of thing.
But also, I think with her behavior and like looking into, so she got diagnosed with as psychopathy, antisocial personality disorder, and borderline personality disorder. And all three of these, some of the indications are things like not just you've got a lack of remorse, but also you don't care about yourself as well as other people.
Yeah, because it's like she would there was one news report that said that she was a textbook narcissist when she definitely isn't. Because it's just the other things that have that thing, because she's got no self-preservation thought, which is one of the narcissist things. It's all about them. They wouldn't go around hurting themselves, cutting themselves.
Yeah.
They are basically the be-all and end-all.
She cut herself a lot. She had a lot of scars.
Which is and play in her favour. That is signs of severe mental health issues that should have been taken more into account when she was charged, like when she was sentenced. Because I think that there was
perhaps,
a lot. What she did, I don't think it could be cured or anything. But
it also, I think it all points to a deeper underlying problem, doesn't it? That she's got. And I think with the alcohol and the drugs, it's her issues, her psychological issues, lead to those kind of risky behaviours, rather than those risky behaviours causing her to have psychological issues. It's the other way around, but definitely could be an exacerbator.
But like, at what point was like? Then you got the sword, like the double-ended sword, double-bladed sword. Double-ended dildos.
Yeah.
No, it's that she had a fascination with knives, cutting people, stabbing people, but then cut herself as well. And there was one guy she was with before any of this happened that she cut open. She basically cut open his belly, not all the way open, but cut him across the belly.
Was that during sex?
Yeah, because she wanted to see what it was like, and she had such fascination with cutting and flesh ribbing. I think that's a reason why she cut herself a lot. But then she realised, obviously, she doesn't necessarily like doing it on herself, but she still did it on herself because more of a compulsion, and that's the psychopathy aspect of it. Apparently,
she also liked being punched during sex. She was like punching her in the face over and over. So she's got a lot of issues, but she's also, a lot of these things they're disorders as opposed to mental illness, and that's the other thing. Things like antisocial behaviour, antisocial personality disorder, borderline personality disorder, psychopathy. You could argue they're mental illnesses, but they're viewed differently. They're mental disorders.
Yeah.
As opposed to a mental illness such as like schizophrenia, where you could say, look, they don't know the difference between right and wrong when they're doing it, or they're not in control of what they're doing. So that's a bit about her and her lead up to in like her life and stuff.
I mean, basically, it's the gap between the first murder and her running away is a few years.
Yeah.
And she met a load of like disreputable people, ne'er-do-wells, people who are like low-run criminals. One of her main accomplice, Gary Richards, who changed his name to Gary Stretch because he was 7'3", which is fucking immensely huge, massive bastard. There will be a picture of him in the link as well. Posing really badly. But he was obviously a giant, but he was also a bungling burglar.
Yeah,
He robbed the house just a few doors down from him, which is dumb in itself. And he got done for 3 years, came out, met her, and basically became her like protector in a way. And he was
described as her nodding dog.
Yeah, there was no there was like there's also a nodding dog. Somebody said he's the poodle and she's the Rottweiler.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's like I don't know whether there was any sexual part
I don't
of
get
this.
that impression.
I don't get that impression. It just seems like she was the boss, and that's
he
all
was
he could.
beholden to her. Absolutely.
Yeah. And like she met him. She also met Leslie Paul Layton. A bit later, but he was Gary's friend. And they basically there wasn't much really going on. It was just going out, getting drunk, doing drugs. That was really it. Where I don't know where the point was that she went from, just doing what she does to then the start of the 10 days.
Yeah.
And like the start of the 10 days, basically she murdered 3 people. We'll go into exactly who they were in a bit, but over the period of 10 days, she murdered 3 men. And then a couple of days later, she attempted to kill 2 men.
Yes.
So really, she was 3 murders and 2 attempted murders, which is, bear in mind, like 2 weeks. To do that in 2 weeks after this whole run-up, all of a sudden, it's
the beginning to the end. So the first murder to the attempted murders is March the 19th to the 2nd of April.
Yeah, so it's basically like 12 days. 13 days.
Yes. So
it's like, it's a staggering. That's normally, because when you look at a lot of these serial killers, it starts off with one. The second one might come soon afterwards, but then there's normally a rest period of a while where the difference between a spree killer and serial killer is like it has to have the rest period. This one does have a rest period of a couple of days, but not that much.
See, it's border. Like some people have said, like, is she more of a spree killer than a serial killer? Because even though there's days, she didn't have like a cooling down period. It seems to be one whole thing. Do you want me to go over the?
Yeah, we'll go after we'll go over them. The first guy was a Polish man called Lucas Slabos.
I practiced this yesterday, and now I can't. No, and now I've forgotten. Lucas Slabieski.
There we go.
I think something like that. Slabieski.
Yeah, he basically came to the country in 2005. Within days of meeting her, he basically had already texted his friend, basically to the effect saying that life was beautiful now, and he had a new girlfriend, referring to her. She invited him around his house. They hadn't had sex or anything by this point. But she invited him around his house. No, but it seemed like
apparently they'd been sending like sexy, not sexy texts. I almost said.
Sexy texts.
I meant sexual texts.
Yeah, and then basically got invited around the house. Where he
thought he was on a promise.
He thought he was on a promise. They basically had a few drinks. He got him extremely drunk. She grabbed a knife, walked behind him, and stabbed him in the heart from the back. More or less died instantly.
Yeah.
Just baffling.
Yeah, she just...
Because the judge did remark saying at no point was this... off the cuff and just just a flight of fancy. This was planned.
She had got him round there with the intent.
She knew she was going to kill him. She knew how she was going to kill him. She knew when she was going to kill him. She got him round. He played right into her hands. She did it, which I find terrifying. Really.
Yeah, absolutely. It's exactly the word I was going to use as well. Like it's pretty fucking scary, isn't it?
Yeah. All of her crimes are actually scary. Like, as in, like, more obviously anyone murdering anyone is scary, but this one, the complete callousness and cold blood and premeditation in a way, but not even caring enough to prepare how to get rid of the body.
No, she didn't have like a Dexter kill room or anything.
Basically in the place, and she got her friend Gary Stretch to help her dispose of the body, and they put it in a wheelie bin. I was going to say how they disposed of the body. They put him in a fucking wheelie bin initially, and even like she showed a young girl from the neighborhood. Joanne denied this, but
it's pronounced Dennehy.
Oh, sorry. Joanne Dennehy. She denied ever doing this, but the little girl told the police.
How old was she? She was like 12 or 13, wasn't she, the girl?
She described exactly what she saw in the bin, and they said there was no way she could have made this up. Because there were details there that they wouldn't know.
She lifted the lid up, and you could just see the head was right there. And Joanne Dennehy had bragged about that later, hadn't she? About showing the girl lifting the lid up.
And there was something she described part of the body, and when the body was later moved, and but the same description was obviously with the face there, and then so she did that. She didn't care that much, and it was treated, her disposing of the body was basically like saying, oh, I've got this old mattress, I've got to bin it somehow, I don't know how, so talk that matter-of-factly.
But I was gonna say being the trampy little lolo, say, oh, fucking fly tips.
Americans won't get that, will they? Don't know what is it.
I don't know. We just call it fly tipping.
Just dumping your rubbish where
you
you shouldn't.
When you chuck you get some like trailer park trash. They get all their trash
and throw it at the side of the highway or something.
Or down like a little lane somewhere. Whatever. We call it fly tipping. Anyway, that was distasteful because it was about a body. So I shouldn't have said that. I feel bad.
And the next guy she killed was John Chapman, who was 56 years old.
So this first murder was 19th of March.
Yeah. This next one was a week or so later. I think
28th of March.
28th of March. It was on Good Friday. He was in his own bedsit. He was in his house where she was living in. She was living in the same building as he was, and he was known to be a kindly, harmless, inoffensive man who was in the Royal Navy. He'd fallen a bit of hard times and had a weakness for alcohol, so he was a bit of a drunk. He was a very vulnerable adult.
Yeah.
She lived in another bedsit on the same floor of the building. Oh no, sorry. Leslie Layton, her other accomplice, Gary, he lived on the same floor. And after that, after they basically killed him, Joanne Dennehy said to a woman called Georgina Page that she killed the man because he came into the bathroom while she was having a bath and wouldn't leave. The judge did say that's a feature of his psychopathic personality, that she's a pathological liar.
Yeah.
Because there was clear evidence that she'd threatened John Chapman that you'd get him out of the house by any means because she just didn't like him, the building they lived, the block of flats they lived in. So wanted to get him out by any means necessary. She'd only just moved in to the place, and Chapman had described her as the mad woman.
Yeah, he'd already talked to her family, hadn't he, saying that there was this mad woman.
And basically it was shown.
So she said. So she claimed that he had walked in on her.
Yeah, there's the whole thing. But then
because apparently what they reckon actually happened was she called at the flat of him, 56-year-old John Chapman, with booze. The pair drunk and chatted together until he passed out drunk. Mm-hmm. So that's what they reckon. That what actually happened was she knew he had, so she knew that what's his name, the first guy. She knew Lucas was interested in her. So she got him over with the promise of sex, basically. Yeah. Got him a bit drunk and then stabbed him. She knew that She knew that Chapman was an alcoholic.
Yep.
So she got him over with booze, the promise of booze. Had booze and got him over, and they drunk until he passed out.
He basically, his blood alcohol levels 4 times the limit of driving. He was fucked. There was no defensive wounds on him at all.
Yeah.
So she stabbed him once in the neck, severing the carotid artery. I couldn't even fucking pronounce that then. I looked at him and carotid? Well, carotid artery, and 5 times in the chest.
It's where the carrots go down when you eat them.
But yeah, so severed the carotid artery and stabbed him 5 times in the chest. 2 of the stab wounds penetrated the heart. One of them inflicted with such force first passed through the breastbone. So it wasn't that, like literally that's a lot of anger in her.
And it was the same knife she used as well for Lucas.
But yeah, so and also Leslie Layton, who lived there as well, had a photograph of John Chapman's body on his mobile phone. The photograph was taken that day, early mornings, at 7 a.m, so they were doing it late at night, not long after the murder. He didn't delete it from his phone. He said he didn't take it either. He said Joanne Dennehy took it. But later on, and it is jumping forward a bit, after she's in prison, I know, giving away, but she wrote a letter to Gary Stretch in prison, talking about Leslie and saying that she isn't the one that killed Chapman. She's saying that she took credit for it.
Said about this.
Yeah, she said she took credit for it, but she didn't actually do it herself. Mainly because he did it just to impress her.
Ooh.
Which he said she really didn't like Leslie. But she's basically like, yeah, he did it to impress me. I took your life sentence. Because she wanted life, she wanted to be punished. She wanted numbers. She wanted to
so she wanted 9 because she wanted the same number as
Bonnie and Clyde. No, is it Bonnie and Clyde?
Hold music, please.
Okay, here's hold music.
And we're back. She wanted to kill 9 people like Bonnie and Clyde. Those people who were terrible at robbing people.
Yeah.
And the only reason those people died, I think, was because they ended up backed into a corner. And for the most part, they didn't kill because they wanted to kill. They killed because they were shit at robbing, and people ended up in shootouts.
But also, there's one thing that Dennehy really hated people flirting with her. That wasn't something that she was in charge of.
Oh, I didn't know that,
She
but that
really
it makes perfect sense because the power, the balance of power in that relationship would be tilting towards that other person.
Yeah,
and she doesn't want that.
Well, it's like so when she, who was it she killed? I can't remember. It was one of the. It was when she was talking about one of the people she killed to the police. They said she said they shouldn't have pissed me off. They shouldn't have flirted with me. So it's like, wow, that is fucking terrifying in itself. But yeah, so she did. She she said she did. As to the letter saying that she didn't kill Chapman, she is a pathological liar.
She is. So prior to that this letter, she's claiming she didn't kill him. Previously, she's claimed she killed more people.
Yeah.
So I think she killed the amount of people we know she killed. To be honest, I think that's where we are. I'm
gonna need some hold music now. Damn it.
So also, while you're searching for that, just as an aside, so Lucas, the first person that she killed, she got days later the body. So Lucas, they put him in the wheelie bin, and then a few days later, the body was retrieved and thrown into a ditch in the Peterborough countryside. And then the second person she killed, John Chapman, whether she killed him or not, I think she did. Why Christians find that letter. He was then taken as well, and Richards and Leighton, so the two accomplices, got rid of Lucas's body. Then they also got rid of Chapman's, and they put it in the same ditch, dumped him in the same ditch as Lucas. So at this point, March 19th and then March 28th, he was killed and he was disposed of. So at this point, you've got two men missing, both in the same ditch in Peterborough.
Which is just horrible.
Yes.
Yeah, so basically what she actually said, she wrote a letter to Gary Stretch. I'll read it out. I thought it's better just to hear her words from it. John Chapman was killed...
Can you do her voice?
Oh, John Well, she isn't northern, isn't she? Where's Peterborough? I'll just talk like that anyway. John Chapman were killed by Leighton in some pathetic attempt to impress me and Gary. I was pissed at Gary for telling Leighton in the first place. Things were not going to plan. In the dock at sentencing, Leighton was sitting behind Gaz. That's short for Gary. I leant over to Leighton and quite clearly told him, I may be taking your life sentence, but you and Stretch are idiots. Now, taking this, bear in mind if you could hear past the awful voice. I might be taking your life sentence, but you and Stretch are idiots. How? Yeah. You're taking the rap for his crime. You're the fucking idiot.
I mean, yeah, they are also idiots, but she's not in any position.
Yeah,
like some lofty position to judge.
Yeah, I mean, police looked into the claim and found no evidence that any of that was right.
No.
They actually think what happened was after they killed Chapman, she went straight round Leighton's place. Called Gary as well. They both went round, and Leighton took a picture under orders from her, or she took his phone to take a picture for a keepsake.
Yeah.
They think the likelihood is she took the picture because it wasn't deleted from his phone, so they think he didn't know it was there. The judge did mention saying he doesn't know which way it is, like whether he knew or didn't know, but the fact it was on his phone implicates him 100% because he was there with his phone.
Absolutely. The thing is, because you can understand that things might be hazy because it's a pretty stressful situation for him.
Yeah.
Not saying that he, not clearing him on being involved, but it's probably pretty stressful. He's probably hazy on the details or details.
Also, there's the next person they murdered was it's actually I think more sad than the last one.
This is Kevin Lee.
Kevin Lee, who was the landlord of the building. He was a loving family man.
By all accounts, like he was
a really nice guy.
Really positive about him, and he wanted to help people, like less fortunate people, didn't he?
Yeah, and so he basically helped everyone who lived in the flat were just out of prison or in trouble or runaways, and he was doing very, very good things for the community. He did fall for her charms.
Yeah, it's alleged that they had an affair, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, even Kevin Lee's wife was in the documentary was saying, obviously it's true. She doesn't know why he would have cheated, but obviously he did, but that shouldn't play into his character, which I do believe.
Oh yeah, absolutely. He doesn't deserve to die, and it doesn't mean he's a bad person in general because he made a mistake. A
very, very bad mistake. Because this one, he became infatuated with her over the period of several months. So this is leading up to the first one.
It must be her really nice tattoos and lovely hair.
Oh yeah. she led him to believe that she was abused as a child and that she killed her own father.
I forgot about that. For fuck's sake. Yeah.
So trying to play that.
God.
It's weird that she played into his... Like, tried to play into his things by saying, I was abused as a child. Fair enough, I understand that. I killed my father? Not even but it's not even a lie that you cannot disprove.
You can literally look him up and be like, oh no, he's over there.
This isn't the 70s. The internet exists. You can find people.
Yeah. So, yeah. But again, it's like we said before. She's learnt about him. She knows him, and she knows what buttons to push. She knows that he's a caring, like empathetic person.
Yeah.
So she knows full well that if she turns up and says, like plucks. Wait, what's the word I'm looking for?
I don't know.
Plucks his heartstrings?
Yeah, plucks his heartstrings, that's right.
Is that right? Yeah. Plucks his heartstrings, and gives his sob story. He's going to, that's what he's going to fall for, and he's going to want to look after her.
It's kind of telling that the whole thing of, like, her sob story involves her killing someone.
Oh, yeah, also, she has to she can just say, like, I was diddled as a kid, which is horrible anyway, but she also has to, she still has to fucking big herself up and be like, yeah, but I, off the old man.
I mean, one of the things that she did, linked it back to John Chapman, is that he gave her some work within his property letting business. And
he's a fucking debt collector.
And she went round to Chapman's house to basically get him to pay up because he was a bit late because he spent on booze.
Yeah.
So that was another reason why she saw that. But he gave her a good home. He befriended her. He had a series of bedsits in the houses. She basically moved a couple of times within the properties that he had. But she confided in him that she committed the first murder against Lucas. She told Georgina Page. I don't even know. Georgina Page has come into it a couple of times. I think she's just a friend in her group. But she told Georgina Page later that it's because he'd seen the body that eventually you had to kill him.
Yeah.
So she let him into it because he saw the body and she couldn't do anything else. But then she killed him, and it was in the same block. She basically got him round.
So this was the 29th of March. So this was literally the day after she killed John Chapman. She killed Kevin Lee.
Yeah. So basically, she told him it was a sexual promise as well.
Yeah.
He had to come see her on a Friday afternoon, and she was going to dress him up and rape him. That was her sexual...
Yeah.
Again, I don't get it.
Dress him up in... I'm confused, and I know the case.
So an hour before Kevin Lee went round there, he met his best friend Dave Church and told him about the text that she got. Saying that about... It was, but it wasn't the first time Kevin had described to David the sort of extreme sexual activity that that they were taking part in together. So even though it was a sexual promise, she had sex with Kevin Lee before.
Yes,
and it was extreme in all ways. But then when he went round there an hour earlier, she stabbed him 5 times in the chest. The wounds penetrated both his lungs and the heart. This time there were injuries suggesting that he tried to defend himself.
Yes.
Then is the weird
also
bit.
So before you move on, I think it's kind of interesting as well. Is like, so because she's getting more confident. So the first person stabbed him from behind, so he couldn't defend himself. The next person, she only stabbed him once, I think. The next person stabbed multiple times, but waited till he was drunk. This time she's getting cocky and confident.
Yeah.
Doesn't bother waiting for him to be kind of incapacitated or not able to defend himself.
Yeah.
She's obviously she'd obviously escalated over those first 2 murders and was way more confident in it, and didn't give a shit. She didn't feel like she needed to get him drunk or get him involved.
She knew he would go round anyway.
Yeah, but still, the other guys went round anyway.
Yeah,
but she still attacked one from behind and got the other one drunk. None of them entered her flat against their will.
John Chapman was in his own flat. It wasn't in hers.
Oh, okay. But either way,
so they let her in.
Either way, she was with them,
and there was something to enable her to do it.
So this time she didn't even fucking bother. Like, she could have done some a sexual game with him, and he could have been tied up and done it. But she didn't care at this point.
Yeah.
I think she's killed 2 people. She's gotten away with it so far. She's like, well, I'll just fucking stab him at this point.
Yeah, and then basically what they did after was a bit worse. It was a lot worse than what they'd done to other people. They just left the bodies.
Yeah.
They took him to the remote rural area on the outskirts of Peterborough.
You got the first 2 were in the same ditch, and this one was I think it was like 10 miles away.
Yeah, because they basically dumped his body. They dressed him up in one of Joanne's black sequin dresses.
Yeah.
And then as a final humiliation, dumped him in the ditch, still wearing the dress, his arse in the air. Then basically shoved something in his ass. I don't know what it was though.
No, I don't know.
I don't really want to know what it was. No. But basically, shoved something in his ass to make it look like it was basically just the final insult.
Yeah,
to him.
just humiliate. For some reason, she had to like sexually humiliate him.
It was because he had a family and he was happy in his family, and he probably mentioned that at some point.
Oh, yeah, probably.
So it's like, well, I'm going to fuck your family.
Maybe
well.
she knew that he would never leave his wife for her.
Yeah. So that's what he did, and they.
Not that she would, and this other thing, she wouldn't really want him to leave. Like, she wouldn't want him to leave his wife for her to start a life, to have like a new life together.
Yeah.
She would want him to leave his wife just so she was in control, and then she would have probably left him anyway. Like it. Yeah. It's just she's
and
fucking awful.
The accomplices during these, because they're the 3 people she killed. The apart from Gary Stretch, the other people were basically used to move bodies, get rid of evidence for her, but didn't actually take part in any of the murders themselves.
No.
The Stretch did a lot more with the next 2 attempted ones. Mainly because he was the guy that she said, find me someone to kill. Yeah. Whereas these ones before, they were literally, she knew who she wanted to kill. That person, I want to do it this way, do it that way. I'm gonna engineer it. Then there seemed to have been, I think it's some kind of like franticness about her, knowing, because it was obviously got to the point where it was starting to be in the news. And it was like these bodies have been found, and knowing that she's on a countdown clock. She can't go do things as boldly, so it's like, no, I need it now. Yeah,
as she said, she needed her fun.
Yeah.
So what they did after that, so this was the 29th of March, then on the 2nd of April, so it's like 30 days, September, April, June, and November. So 31 days in March, I can't remember. So 1, 2, 3, like 4 days later. So Joanne Dennehy, I can't say her and he, pronouns, we've got to say who we're talking about because no one else knows. Joanne Dennehy and Gary Stretch, they committed a robbery in Norfolk, which is, I want to make jokes about Norfolk now, really. It's just...
No fucking chance.
No. Hicksville. Just... I knew someone from Norfolk once. They wanted to introduce me to his sister and his girlfriend. One person. Yeah. Anyway, so anyway, they committed this. They committed. You shouting boo or boo earns? They contacted. So yeah, they.
Yeah.
They carried out a fucking robbery on the 2nd of April.
There was it was while that was happening, just before that was happening, Leslie Layton, unlike the others, showed a lot of remorse for knowing what was going on and what was happening. He basically went to a couple of his friends. This was just before they left.
Oh, okay.
But he was it was his friends Tony Ann Roberts and Michelle Bowles described him as distressed and upset when he speak to him, and he was still trying to cover his tracks up, but he was obviously very affected by what happened, and that's why his sentence is a bit better. But then they went to Norfolk.
So on the 2nd of April, in April 2013, Joanne Dennehy and Stretch went. They committed a robbery in Norfolk, and they wanted someone to get rid of the robbed items so they can make some money. So Stretch contacted an associate of his called Mark Lloyd, and he agreed to help them fence the stolen goods, get rid of the stolen goods.
Yeah.
So Mark Lloyd, he's in a lot of the documentaries. He's interviewed quite a lot. I really feel for this dude. Like, he was trying to get rid of some stolen goods. He did not sign up for what happens next.
No, and he was basically a passenger in the car being forced.
He's really affected. So apparently, the article I've got misses a bit. Apparently, as soon as they walked in the house, she held a knife. I think she got a knife to him, and said, Gary here's my driver, and I kill people, and he gets rid of the body, something like that. And this guy, fucking Mark, was like, "What the fuck? I just thought we were going to get rid of some stolen goods."
Yeah, but at the same point, he has dealt with, like Mark Lloyd would have dealt with people who have said they've killed people.
Well,
before.
he said later on, after we'll talk about it in a minute, like he says, "I've seen violence. I've been around violence my whole life. I've not been around this." So he quickly contacted someone that he thought he could get rid of the stolen goods from. I'm gonna sneeze.
Gone.
Oh, that's gone. Sorry. Anyway, so he contacted an associate to get rid of the goods. They got in their car, and apparently, once they're in the car, Lloyd was, this quoted in an article, was shocked and appalled at Dennehy's boast of having murdered people, wanted to do so again. So they're in the car. He's already scared of her. Yeah. She's fucking nuts anyway. And then all of a sudden, they're in a car together, the 3 of them, and she's saying she's killed these people.
And also, it is at that point, Gary Stretch showed Mark Lloyd the gun that was in the waistband of his trousers.
Oh, yeah.
And at that point, Mark Lloyd knew he couldn't just walk away.
He couldn't just do anything.
Because it's like, it was a threat. It was like him saying, well, no. And like he was obviously very perturbed, but had to, you deal with, if you're dealing with criminal underbelly of society, you're going to be used to people grandstanding and know that keep mouth shut, go ahead with it. You might have a payday, but you can get home. Type thing.
So I think the first thing that happened, they were out driving first of all, and she asked Mark if he had any cigarettes. He said no. She was like, okay, I need to get some.
So then went to the petrol station,
yeah. So at this point, the police were already looking for her.
Yeah.
They'd found the first body, which we'll talk about in a second. I'll talk about the bodies and the order they were discovered and stuff. But the police were looking for her, which is why, like Christian, as you said, they were on a bit of a time crunch.
Yeah.
And so they pulled into a petrol station, and he went in to get cigarettes for her, and he thought he was on his own, and then he felt like the presence of someone behind him. He was at the at the counter, and she was stood behind him, and he said that she had the handle of the knife up behind her back, but in his back. And was like, come on, just get the cigarettes. So he was just trying to stay calm.
Yeah, because, I mean, she thought, bear in mind that she's just said all that. He's gone in to get cigarettes. She's never met him before.
Yeah.
She's going to make sure that he doesn't try and
She
call
needs
for
to
help.
control this situation. She controls everything anyway, and now there's a lot of stake.
There is actually, you can see the video on, I think I'll see it. I don't know if you can get the video online.
It's definitely in that
ITV
documentary.
I might link to the documentary. Because you can see, and Mark Lloyd talks about this, is that when he's doing that, she then turns around and starts flirting with the person, with the girl on the counter. Oh, turn around. I've got a nice ass, And like, oh, you look lovely. So like literally flipping the coin of between bad and good, and totally throwing Mark Lloyd off any knowing what's going on.
Yeah, he's totally threw him. So at this point, the police are looking for her. I think they've got the car registration at this point, and they know what they're looking for. So the police, and then they find out pretty quickly that she's been at that petrol station or gas station. At the petrol station, and so they're looking for the car. They find out she's been there. Then they leave, and they're driving around and looking for a victim. And she's saying like, Gary, I need my fun. And Mark doesn't really know what this means at this point.
Yeah,
does he? And I think Stretch then, seemingly at random,
he spotted Robin Bereza.
64-year-old man.
He was walking his dog ahead of them on the near side pavement. They lied to the police and suggested that they pulled up only after passing him. Don't know why this lied happened, because the judge even said because Gary said that he didn't see what happened.
Yeah.
So he said he parked in front. Well, that's a lie. They parked behind so she could get the element of surprise.
Yeah. She wanted, first of all, she wanted a man. She didn't want a woman or a child, and she wanted someone with a dog. Yeah.
And basically, he said, will he do? Mark Lloyd told the jury that. And then she said she was under the influence of alcohol when she carried out the attack, and that she feels remorse for what she did. She'd been drinking whiskey from a bottle during the journey, but despite the expert's back calculation of the possible alcohol level, the judge rejects entirely any suggestion that she was inebriated to the point of not knowing what she was doing.
No.
But basically,
she could drink.
Yeah, so he was Robert Bereza was 63, a retired fireman. He had chosen to walk the dog rather than go jogging. She attacked from behind, taking him completely unaware, stabbed him first in the back, second time in the upper arm, and when he turned to face her and asked her what she was doing, she told him, I want to hurt you, I'm going to fucking kill you. Yeah. He tried to fight her off, kicked out at her. She pursued him into the road, continuing the attack, but eventually she desisted, probably because of the arrival of another car at the scene. Gary Stretch had driven the car slowly behind them when he was doing it and beckoned to her to get back in the car. She did and said nothing to show any disapproval or surprise at what she was doing. So then she calmly got in the car, looking across the road, smiling at the driver of the other car, waiting to turn right, and basically acted as if nothing was going on. So she only managed to inflict 2 stab wounds on Robin Bereza, causing potentially fatal injuries. The deep wound in his back penetrated his chest wall, as well as bruising the lung and fracturing a rib. Had the blood and air not been given to him promptly...
Had the what?
Had the blood in the air not promptly been drained from his chest by the medical staff, his life would have been more or less in danger. The other stab wound shattered his shoulder blade and fractured the bone in the upper arm.
He stabbed so hard that you shattered his shoulder blade.
It was only by pure chance that the nerves in his arm were not damaged irreparably. Yeah. So, because he could have had drastic loss of function, anything could have happened with that, but he was very lucky. It had the judge remarked that it had a profound effect on him emotionally and psychologically.
No shit.
No, of course it did. But yeah, she wasn't satisfied with the outcome of that first
Also,
attack.
though, like, she didn't know that he'd survived either. That's the thing. When she's left to this guy, as far as she knows, he's probably dead.
Yeah, she's like, oh, and he managed to get 2 in.
Dying.
But then she got back in the car and demanded Gary find her another victim.
Yeah.
And of course, he was happy to oblige. So at this point, Mark's frozen with fear.
Yes.
I just feel so bad for that guy.
He's just seen this. And when you watch like interviews with him all these years later, he's still physically, when he describes this, he's physically like shaking. He's shaken up and like just really affected by what he saw.
And it's at this point, she still wants a dog. So this time, the victim is a 56-year-old man called John Rogers who lived nearby and was taking his dog for a walk. He'd only gone.
So they were both taking their dogs for a walk. I didn't realise this. Okay.
Yeah, he'd only gone a few yards down the path when she attacked him from behind, stabbing him in the back. When he turned around, she stabbed him repeatedly. She pushed him backward for several yards, stabbing him all the time she was doing it. Even then, he fell over. She continued to stab him in the front to the back. It was apparently referred to as a relentless and frenzied attack with only one purpose: to kill him. She left him for dead, picked up his dog, and left the scene. He lay there helpless, presuming he was dying.
Also, did you say how long this is between the attacks?
9
minutes.
9 minutes.
9 minutes from between those two attacks.
Yeah. She also thought at this point she killed him. She thought he was 100% dead.
Stabbed him more than 30 times.
Which is, I mean, he had deep wounds in his chest, abdomen, and back. Both lungs had collapsed. His bowel was perforated and exposed. That's how big the cuts were. He received, obviously, expert medical treatment very promptly because he would have died very quickly. So severe was the force of the stab wounds that 9 ribs were fractured. He also received wounds to his hands and arms, which could have resulted in nerve damage. But didn't. And he too has suffered grievous emotional and psychological harm. Of course. So yeah, I mean, 9 minutes different to
between those two attacks. That's
she was
quick.
It's the frenzy was not just the attacks. Like she was wanting to ramp up the numbers. Like she said, she wanted to get to 9. That's 5 that she thought she did.
Yeah,
but then she did later on say that she was had killed more. Yeah, but then never really went into details about it. So my thought is that is. Even though she's a pathological liar, it's probably true because it's the only thing I can think of that explains the fact that when she was arrested very soon after this, she didn't have. If her whole thing, she only needs to get to 9, that's what she wants to do. She would have been a bit more pissed off by getting arrested.
Yeah, perhaps. But I think 2 things. I think she I mean, I think lots of things, but I think 2 things specifically. I think she said she killed more just to be big man in prison to try and be scary and bigger. And I think the only reason she probably wasn't more upset when she got arrested was to control the situation. I think
probably.
I think to emotionally control herself and control the situation. If she'd showed weakness or upset, even if that upset wasn't remorse, but the upset was disappointment in herself, I don't think she'd want people to see that. That's what I think anyway.
And it's one little note that I found actually it's kind of little heartbreaking after thing about John Rogers. It was the last one who was relentlessly attacked. He can't play guitar anymore.
Oh no!
For someone who's a musician and a guitarist,
would suck so much.
Like your one hobby, the one thing she takes away from you, she doesn't take your life away. She just takes the one thing you love away. And even the judge did say that the psychological trauma was devastating to them. Meaning that they're not going to go into a lot of detail what happened, but their lives are ruined. Whether they're dead or not, their lives are ruined.
No, that's a lifetime of.
Yeah, I mean,
speaking to psychologists and stuff, and
especially the last thing he said before sentencing was about John Rogers, saying only through the love and devotion of his wife has he been able to get through the ordeal of it all.
Bless.
And it's
awful.
Hell.
So I was just going to say, moving on a bit, it's kind of backwards in time chronologically, but when they discovered the bodies,
yes. Oh yeah, because wasn't there something like they found them in the wrong order that they were killed?
Yeah, they did. So what happened? So the first 2 victims, Lucas and Chapman, they both they didn't have anyone. They didn't have family and stuff. So people didn't notice that they were missing. But Kevin Lee, the landlord, he had a wife and family, so they reported him missing. So that's what tipped them off. If she had chosen a third victim who was a loner,
might not have found him.
They wouldn't have found him for days. Probably.
Lucas was an immigrant. who was recently in the country, he wasn't on welfare. He was doing like money for cash in
he
hand.
just didn't have family around to miss him.
Chapman was a retiree who was an alcoholic, so nobody really missed him.
No, and they were probably for him. There were probably people that knew him were probably used to him going missing for a while because he'd just be probably in a stupor and not be social because he was alcoholic. Yeah,
so they found. So that means they found Kevin Lee first.
Yeah, Kevin Lee was found first on the 30th of March. So she killed him on the 29th of March. She stabbed the other two guys on the 2nd of April, but so on the 30th of March, they discovered his body.
Wait, they discovered him the day after, was that?
Yeah.
Wow, that is fucking good policing.
So, no, it was an accident.
Oh.
So they knew that he was missing.
Yeah. But what, she reported him missing after a day? Less than a day, because...
Yeah, because they would know that... She would know his movements.
Yeah,
I guess, and she would know that he'd
be home that night.
Yeah, I think he missed something that he should have done, and the fact that he is a landlord, he's always contactable. And she tried, I think, his like various mobiles and stuff, and just couldn't get hold of him. So she's like,
that makes sense.
Something's wrong.
Because I always, every time I've like watching films and that in the past, it's always been like when people try to say I want to do a missing persons report, they say, oh, you've got to wait at least
24 hours. Normally.
24 hours or 48 hours.
Yeah, but there's no law or rule for that.
It's just what they recommend.
What it is, but what it is like if you're used to say not seeing someone for a few days and then you report them missing that day, then the police might go, well. Wait. There's nothing illegal to disappear. An adult can disappear if they want to disappear. We're not going to search for it. But if you're due home and you're not contactable when you should be always on this number and you're a landlord and you should be doing this and this, the police go, right, there's something out of the ordinary. So they already knew. And then a member of the public, so they were looking for him, and then a member of the public was walking and just found his body in the ditch.
Yeah. So this is because this was basically middle of nowhere as well. Not middle of nowhere. But it wasn't in a city. It was like
he was in a ditch as well, just a separate ditch. So he was the third victim, but he was the first one to be found because they were actively looking for him. And when they found his body, they could identify him. They knew he was a missing person. And once they identified him and they looked into his affairs a little bit, she became a person of interest. Joanne Dennehy became a person of interest immediately. In connection with the murder. The thing is though, they didn't initially think that she'd done it. Because it was such a brutal attack, because it was with a knife, it was up close and personal, it is a very unfemale... Like, women are obviously statistically less likely to be killers anyway. Yeah. And if they are, they're less likely to use such a physical method. They think it's going to be a man. Yeah. But they knew that she had some kind of criminal history, and they knew that they had some kind of relationship.
They knew she might know something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that's what they were looking at. So that was the... that was the first body that they discovered. So the other two guys, so Lucas Slabieski and John Chapman, who were, as we said before, were housemates. So they were discovered on the 3rd of April, near Thorney with stab wounds. So they were discovered the 3rd of April, so 4 days later. So after they were already looking for her. They were already looking at Joanne Dennehy for the Kevin Lee. To be involvement with the Kevin Lee murder. But with this... She had already... And by this point, she had been... Oh, yeah. So when she attacked the other two guys in the forensic attack, she got arrested that day. Yeah. They tracked her down that day. She was in custody, and they found the other two bodies... Yeah. So they knew
she did that day. So they knew it was the attempted murder, which she was flipping for. She didn't know that they didn't know she killed anyone else yet.
No, I think they straight away were looking at her for the Kevin Lee one. But
this one, you've got two other victims that are brutally attacked with a knife.
Yeah, but they think men have done this.
From the same building, or from the same, who knew each other anyway.
Yeah. They were described as housemates, so they obviously had little bedsits within the same building.
So so she was caught very fast. Yeah, it was like 13 days.
The police said though they were really frustrated because when they found out she'd been at that petrol station, they knew where to look for her roughly. And then she attacked those other two guys. They said it was so frustrating because they were on her tail, and they feel like they just wish they could have got her a bit sooner. If they got her like minutes sooner, those other two guys wouldn't have been attacked.
I think 9 minutes between attacks. That's, as a policeman, doesn't matter how big your police force is, what resources they have, the likelihood of them being able to catch someone that quickly. The fact they caught her that day, fucking bravo. Yeah. Good on them. She was caught. She was a cunt free, and she was a cunt while arrested as well.
Yes.
I hate calling people a cunt.
The thing is also, just so you know, American listeners, cunt isn't it's not misogynistic like it is in the States.
No, it's
still bad, but it's different. It's not a sexist term.
No, it's just I hate her so much, and hate her more after her, like as we talked about earlier on, when she was
when she was being arrested and being
she
booked.
was being all flippant and like her trying to still be cool about it.
She said to, I think the person like booking her in said, if you were being charged with murder and attempted murder, you wouldn't be cool, would you? Or you wouldn't be calm, would you? And they're like, no. She was like, well, it's nothing more than going out for Sunday dinner.
I've never had a Sunday dinner that ends in people dying.
No, occasionally you might have a rare steak, like a rare beef, and it's a bit bloody.
Stab it a lot.
No, I mean that's the closest thing, just a bloody beef.
Bloody beef.
Bloody bit of beef.
And they arrested. Obviously, Stretch was there at the time. Mark Lloyd was there at the time. They got him. They arrested Robert Moore, who was one of the people that helped them later on move some bodies, and Leighton. They arrested. That day. So all 5 were arrested. Mark Lloyd was released because they knew pretty well.
Where are they now? Wait.
I'm not. I'm just saying they were. Oh yeah, I'm saying that. But all right, fair enough. Damn it, I fucked up. Right, where are they now?
But we're not there yet.
Not there. Where will they be soon?
Where will they be soon? We'll talk about that in a minute. But they arrested everyone in the car, and they arrested
Leighton and Robert
Moore as well. So we'll talk about what happened to them and who was found guilty of what.
Yeah.
At the end. While she was being booked in, we mentioned before, she was being flippant. She also said the policeman was really nice and was trying to flirt with the copper, and she was talking about they put like a little smock kind of top thing on, and she was saying oh, it looks sexy, doesn't it, or something, and then I look good in this.
Yeah, somebody said, oh, you look really nice, and she's like, oh, thank you, that really means a lot.
Oh yeah, that's what I was going to say. So when I watched that, you see how shallow that is. Like when she says, oh, thank you, like it's so sexy, isn't it? I've known people that talk like that in real life, and it's so disconcerting because they say something that has a meaning or could have an emotion attached, but the way they say it is such a flat delivery, and you're like, that is shallow. You don't mean anything you've said. And when I watched it, I was like, oh, that's really just found it creepy. I don't know if it's creepy because I know what she did now, but
it's weird. I think like my disdain for her and like calling her a cunt and all that stuff is it's not. It's the way she looks. Fine, fair enough. I think she's one of the most unattractive people ever.
But we're just using that to beat her with because we know what she is.
Yeah, but it's. I think it's. She's the way she acts is completely like. At least Bundy had another side that people would have fallen for and appeared normal. Like there's things like there's the dual personalities to people, like you're the one way in front of the people you love and your real self comes afterwards. She was the same throughout to everyone, like somebody with like that much.
Yeah, I think though as well, and we've said this before about other people that we've talked about, like Fred West and things, and about certain levels of how manipulative or how charismatic people are. The thing is, if you do it to everyone, it's only got to work on a handful of people.
Yeah.
It can fail on the majority of people you meet, and it only has to work on like 4 or 5 people in your life. That's all you need, and you'll get what you want, and you'll get what you need. Yeah, also, apparently, when she was being led to the cells after she was booked in, she was said to have sung "Singing in the Rain."
But the weird and scary thing was, it wasn't raining.
Raining. That's the scary bit about this whole thing. Singing in the rain in blood.
Rain in blood. She could have sang that, you know.
So she was on the 8th of May. She was charged. Actually, I can mention this because so on the 8th of May 2013, she was charged with the murder of Kevin Lee and the attempted murders of Robin Bariza and John Rogers. Connections between Slavieski, Chapman, and the other victims were established, as was Dennehy's relationship with both, and pathology found that the same kind of knife had been used on all 5 victims. While she was on remand before the trial, so she was in jail rather than prison. She was on remand. She tried to hatch an escape plot. Huh? They found it in a diary. She'd written up it in a diary.
Whoa. There's 2 points I want to pick up before you say what it actually says.
Yeah.
A, she has a diary?
Yeah.
What is it, a pink one?
I guess.
With like glitter on and shit?
Probably, yeah.
Who in this day and age has a diary?
I reckon it was made of like skin.
Yeah. So what that surprises me that she has a diary. 2, that she would actually write in her diary.
She wrote her escape plot.
Obviously in her cell.
Yeah.
That she's wanting to escape from that cell.
Yes.
So
the plan involved, do you think maybe it involved like nicking some spoons from the canteen and like digging a hole?
Hiding in the washing.
hiding in the washing to get taken out.
A tunnel, digging a hole in your wall,
digging a
Rita
tunnel.
Hayworth poster.
Yes,
in a tunnel.
absolutely, yeah. Or maybe getting some, I don't know, some floss and like slowly working on a bar.
Yeah, or just dressing up as a guard, putting a fake moustache on.
Yeah.
You know,
Hello, my name's Joanne. I mean,
John Dennehy. Damn. So what did she do? Or
so the plan involved killing or seriously injuring a prison guard, severing off one of their fingers and using it to fool the biometric system in the prison. She wanted to cut off a guard's finger and use it on the fingerprint detector to get out.
Now, I don't know actually a lot about biometrics, obviously, because I'm not intelligent. But biometric scanners don't work with a dead limb, even if it's a fingerprint, does it? Because it's a heat thing as well.
I thought it needed both, but I could be wrong. I'm not sure.
I thought it needs...
but then I've seen on like NCIS when they rehydrate like a dead person's finger and use it to like unlock a phone.
Oh, that's true. Then I'm wrong.
So yeah,
because I always thought that was like a
Ducky would never lie to me.
Yeah. So she wrote this in a diary.
In a fucking diary, yeah.
But then again, was she writing that in a diary to be found?
I wondered. I wonder if she was never intended to do it, and it was just to be another like Billy Big Bollocks move over there. So she was placed after this. She was placed in solitary confinement. So September 2013, to September 2015, she spent 2 years in solitary confinement.
Well, I'd like to say, well, it changed the kind of person she was. No, not at all.
No,
it was at her trial.
Yeah,
wasn't it that they were having a plea of saying that her defense team of saying not guilty. There was no plans or anything. They said, right, you're going to plead not guilty. She's like, yeah, I'm pleading not guilty. Yet on the day when she was asked, she completely changed it round. Billy Big Bollocks move as well. Yep. Just saying guilty.
Always trying to control the narrative and control the story. Yeah. Always.
And her own team were fucking flabbergasted. Like, what the fuck are you doing? And she's like, no, I'm guilty. Fine. And that's why she was guilty. Then she was like, yeah.
So during I think it's interesting, like the flip flop she does. So when she's initially being booked in, she's all full of chat and trying to flirt. And then they were like, great, she's just going to talk. It's going
to be brilliant.
She's going to sing like a canary.
Yes.
And then they got her in to question her, and she just went no comment. So again, just controlling everything. And then when she was being put in her. When she was, going to put her plea in, she again switched again, 180'd it and went guilty. Always controlling, always doing what she wants, always trying to do the opposite of what's expected of her, just to be in control constantly. And then, so I think we can go to where are they now with the sentences they were given, and we've got some little bits after that of things since. So, Christian. Now, can I do it? Where are they now? Where are they now? No, where are they? Where are they now? Are you going to eat in the mic again? Who am I? He's going to eat. If our friend Andy is listening. I'm eating a Twizzler. Oh, that's disgusting, man. That is just gross. Sorry, Andy. Oh. But yeah, so... And it was great flavour. It wasn't very nice. Awful. But Joanne Dennehy, she received a whole life tariff, which makes her one of 3 women to ever get a whole life tariff. So there's her, Rose West. Yep. And I can't remember the name. Neither could I. It's the woman. She's dead now, so it's only her and Rose West that are alive. Myra Hindley. It's rare for people in general, and specifically women. I mean, Stretch, who was instrumental in everything. Do you know what prison she's in? No. Which one? Bronzefield, which is near you. It's incredibly close to me. I could You could go. I could go visit. It's probably like 5-minute drive from my house. But yeah, Stretch so she's in Bronzefield, which is, I think, it's the biggest all-female prison in Europe. I think. I remember when they opened it. It was right opposite where my school friend. We'll go lived. Into after the sentencing of who else is there and what's happened since. But yes, Stretch, Gary Stretch got a life sentence with a minimum set of 19 years to serve. Yeah, he was found guilty of attempted murder. Yeah. Next one, Leighton. Leslie Leighton got 14 years for his getting rid of the bodies. Perverting the course of justice. Yep. Robert Moore, who helped them out, basically just he let them stay at his house for. And also days. Preventing the lawful burial of a body was another thing they got done for. Robert Moore got 3 years. His was the less of them because he should have known better, but the judge did make a point of saying with Leighton and Moore that at no point, like even though Leighton showed some remorse, there was no point where they tried to correct what they were doing. And they didn't. Neither of them gave up at the first sign of being caught and questioned. So they didn't tell the truth straight away, and that's quite interesting, actually, isn't it? That whatever, whether it was self-preservation, they were like, why they did it, were they scared of her still, wonder what it was.
Yeah,
because you think it's just fucking, if you know you've got everyone, just go like, yeah.
So yeah, I mean, they're in jail. Mark Lloyd, of course, was not charged.
Yeah, so Mark Lloyd, he's the one, just to remind you, he's the one that they got in contact with to get rid of the stolen goods and was a victim. Not a victim, sorry, was a passenger.
Yeah, I mean, he's really good. I really liked him in the documentaries. It was a very forthright guy who would not hide his past for the sake of making him look good. It was actually very refreshing to see someone in a documentary who was a criminal. He admitted to
his shortcomings so
it's a horrible.
This is where they are now.
But so there's basically, since then, there's been a few news reports about Dennehy. Stretch, no. Oh, no, Stretch, it's nothing about Stretch.
No.
Nothing about Leighton, nothing about Robert Moore. But we've got Dennehy, minutes after arriving in that prison.
In Bronzefield Prison.
I will kill her, was her shouting exclamation as she threatened to kill Rose West while into prison. She found out Rose West is in there.
Yep.
While she's being moved in, she shouted out, "I will kill her."
So she's just trying to be in control. She's trying to keep her image up, I guess, her tough person.
But then West was taken into solitary confinement before Dennehy managed to get there, and the next day was transferred to another prison.
Yeah, hundreds of miles away.
Like, because they knew. I mean, Dennehy in all the papers is always referred to as like Britain's. Is it Britain's most dangerous killer?
Yeah,
female killer. Whether or not that's
it's
true,
because she doesn't have the body count of some others, but like she does seem unhinged.
Yeah,
and also with her as well. So I was just going to say, like, I feel like a lot of it is bluster, a lot of it is just trying to make herself look big.
She's trying to be the top dog.
Also, I also don't doubt that she would follow through on it if she thought it would serve her.
Yeah, I
well.
mean, basically,
she knows she's never going to be released. She can't get more time on her.
Yeah. Oh no, she can't.
So she's never going to be released. So if it serves her to be more respected in prison or feared in prison,
and she's been in solitary confinement for 2 years, she's used to it. She doesn't fear it. A lot of prisoners fear solitary, so don't do stuff in fear of that. She obviously doesn't. Yeah. But there's a criminologist and author, Christopher Berry D. He had interviewed
Berry D. That sounds like was he in Public Enemy?
Yeah. He interviewed Dennehy and West after he's interviewed them, and has said it was between 5 and 20 minutes after first arriving at the prison that she said that. Yeah. And it was literally the guards feared for Rose West's life so much and thought there is nothing that will stop this woman killing her. He said he was Barry D. Yes, Mr. Barry D. It's Barry-D. He said he was disturbed by her charming persona because of the hint of coldness that was with it. Not the fact that it was just charming, but the fact it was a hint of coldness. That I found, because everyone was talking about how she was very charming and all that, but the fact that he pointed up saying, no, she has this thing that she comes across as charming, but the coldness is the thing that puts you off.
And that's why I was actually he said it because he's a professional better than I managed, was when she said, sexy, isn't it, or whatever, when she was being booked in. That's what I got from her. She said the words, but she was cold and didn't mean anything. Also, when she went to prison, she tried to sue the British justice system for breaching her human rights for the 2 years in solitary confinement, or 3 years, whatever it was, 3 years in solitary confinement. She tried to prove...
Are you fucking kidding me?
No, she tried to sue the prison system. But in May 2016, she was informed that her attempt to sue the British system for breaching her human rights had been unsuccessful. Mr. Justice Singh found Dennehy's solitary confinement was in accordance with law at all material times. It has been necessary and proportionate.
Yeah, 100%.
But she tried to fucking sue them as well.
That's just... they all fucking do that.
Oh, and also, after the trial, it emerged that Joanne Dennehy had been on probation at the time of the murders following convictions for assault and for owning a dangerous dog. So she should have been... it was assault and a dangerous dog. She wasn't she wasn't
a mass murderer.
A mass murderer yet, but they should have been looking at her.
Yeah.
And it was ruled that the probation officer had been given inadequate training.
Which is fair enough. I mean, a lot of these people...
You don't expect, you can't expect that someone who's had a fight and got a dangerous dog is then going to go kill 3 people, try and kill 9 people.
And it's not like that's the only person you're looking at. You're looking at, deal with dozens and dozens of people who are
their caseloads are going to be,
But then since then also, the next one we've got chronologically was the daughter of Joanne Dennehy, who's a trainer's daughter. I think it's called pronounced Cheyenne, but instead of spelt as the American way, it's Shianne. I think that's Cheyenne in over here. She's 19 now. She was 13 when this happened.
Yeah.
She says her mum should die in prison and shouldn't come out. And she deserves to spend the rest of her life behind bars. And she's apologised to the victims on behalf of her mother. But she wrote her a letter in 2018, the first time she ever had any contact with her. And she expected there to be no reply, but she felt she should write something. And she got a letter back full of love and warmth.
I did. I read that. Yeah.
She said, she's basically, Dennehy apologised in the letter, who said part of her punishment is to never get to see her daughter grow up and get married. Dennehy's only 36 now. Like, she's not.
Yeah, but I think she means won't see it as in she won't be there for it.
Yeah. So it's like, and then so there's that, which is so unfortunately I don't think that anyone should have any contact with her, but it's a daughter. What the fuck are you gonna do? I mean, Christ, you can't say anything bad about her. That's her mum. Doesn't matter what she's
absolutely done. We had this same discussion with Rose West, didn't we?
Yeah.
It's still a parent. It's still your mum.
You can't,
like it's got to be such complicated emotions and feelings.
And there's then the other thing was it was part of the documentary that was out, but it's been reported since as a highlight of it, is that she's still in prison trying to snare men. And she's even had men propose to her by letters, which is standard for serial killers to get fan mail, things like that. But she's still winning them over she basically gives intimate details and clues about the crimes that weren't in any of the papers in the letters to these people.
I wonder how many of these clues are true and how many of these clues are just
they're going to be probably mostly bollocks. So the actual words she said, going back to her at the custody desk where she talked about the Sunday dinner, her actual words were, attempted murder and murder is nothing. It's like going down for a Sunday roast. Easy. Also, I found out there's one thing, this is just a complete aside about Gary Stretch when he was talking about one of the murders. And instead of just saying there was blood everywhere, he's so fucking London. There's claret everywhere.
Fucking
claret everywhere.
Claret everywhere.
And also, the first thing I ever saw about any of these... I mean, we're at the end now, but I just want to tell you this. But one of the first things I ever saw about any of this crime was the picture of her sitting in the armchair with the huge ornamental dagger in her hand. It looks like some kind of Klingon bullshit. And her with her tongue out, looked like she's going to lick it. Then I heard that she stabbed people. I always presumed, until I researched this, that was the knife she used.
Did you? Because that picture, so this photo, the really famous photos we'll link
put
to.
It at the bottom, yeah.
So the photo of her holding the big like ornamental dagger and the one with her and there's one of Stretch like posing outside with her foot on the wall, that was after they'd killed the 3 people.
Yeah.
That was before the 2 attacks, but after the 3 murders. She just doesn't give a shit.
Not in the slightest. I mean, but then again, also, Stretch didn't give a shit. Stretch happily posing, you know.
Yeah. That fucking picture.
I know. It's when you see, like, I have to keep thinking of his size, because when you think of like, we're going to go into this in our next episode that comes out after this, which is another true crime tapas. We will be going into more of this kind of thing, but the height of people is completely incongruous. Doesn't matter really, but when you like that. Is what you expect a serial killer to be.
Yes, and big, imposing.
Like that is the size. That's what I'd expect Gacy to be. I'd expect him to be like this massive, huge beast.
Yeah.
And so he plays up to it. But then you look at he plays up to it. But then he's basically a bumbling burglar.
He's a big old fucking lapdog, isn't he?
And you've got tiny Joanne Dennehy, who, as I called her earlier, Swamp Donkey. She goes right. She's basically the pit bull.
Hashtag Swamp Donkey.
Hashtag Swamp Donkey. There's our advert for the day. So yeah, that I think that brings us to the end. Unless you've got any other thing. Oh,
Maniac Factor.
There we go. Now this is a difficult one, not because of like the last ones we've done. We're going, oh yeah, but look at their mental state. Like, should we give it? Personally, I'm there going, yeah, she 100% deserves a 5, but she'd fucking love that, so she deserves a 0.
I think I'll give her a 5 for Maniac Factor, but don't tell her.
Yeah. Hey, and if you're listening to this, Joanne, Joe, JJ, stop it.
Fuck off.
Just fuck off. I mean, really. But yeah, so there's Maniac Factor. I don't want to give a 5 because I know she's like, you can, but I just don't want it. No, can't do it.
Would you give her 1?
No, I wouldn't give her 1. I wouldn't give her your 1. So that brings us to
that is the Peterborough Ditch Murders. That was Joanne Dennehy et al.
Yes, no, Al wasn't involved.
Right.
Don't bring Al into this. So that brings the end. Yeah, final thoughts?
Not twat. I don't like it very much.
No, not very nice.
So please like us on all the socials. Everywhere at Echo On Pod, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram.
www.echoonpod.com.
We tend to tweet and Instagram more than Facebook, but I do Facebook occasionally.
Yeah, I mean we've just started doing factoids on part of our little posts to try and get some discussion going.
Yeah, get some interesting stuffs.
If any of you following us on Instagram or Twitter as well, or Facebook, and see any of our like factoids we put up, if you've got any others that you like,
yeah, please
bang them up. I think it's a fun thing. We kind of want our social media, as well as being shameless publicity for episodes,
obviously,
and for the stupid stuff we're doing, like going to a music festival and taking pictures on there for no reason, or my dog. We want it to also be like something that people could look at and as a kind of a
engage with.
Yeah, so there's going to be facts. It doesn't have to be. You can start conversations with us, not about necessarily what we've talked about. Anything, just start a conversation up. We'll have a chat.
Please talk to us.
We haven't got any friends.
We just talk to each other.
Yeah, and it's sad.
So everyone, Echo On Pod, please like us, leave a review, tell a couple of friends.
Find someone who you know's phone. Go into their podcast apps and subscribe to us without them knowing.
And also make sure it automatically downloads whenever there's a new episode.
Yeah, and also if you want, just download every podcast app and just download it.
Please.
Them.
Yeah, do that.
Fine.
That'd be good.
Yeah, that'd be nice of you.
Cool.
You.
I've been Chris.
And I've been Christian.
And this has been Echo On.
And we're echoing off. Bye.
Bye.